Sooner Scoop HD.
It's I haven't seen you guys since the caravans, a lot of you, but it was starting with our European trip. The summer practices there really helped. I think one of the biggest things as you move things forward is having guys back that know what you want, that know what your standards are. And Jalen, Jacob, and Tanner, CJ, and Bijan, those five, having them back, having guys that have been through your program, I can't tell you how much that helped us this summer. And it's helping us this fall of just, this is how things go. These are our standards. This is how hard you have to go every rep. And those guys have been excellent. That led into this fall. Excited about these fall workouts. I thought we had a really good September. And now we've been going full boat this week. And I just like the vibe of this team.
Since the caravan, now you guys have Joe and Grant available. I mean, just what can people expect out of that duo in the backcourt?
So with Joe and Grant getting their waivers, Grant is really good off ball screens. He's a really good offensive player. He really can see the floor. He's one of those rare guys that can really score at all three levels. He can shoot the three. He's got one of the best mid-range games. And he can get to the rim. But what makes him hard to guard in ball screens is you're going to have to pick your poison because he can really pass out of ball screens. He's really good with it. And Joe's another guy that can score. Joe's an athletic. He can really cut. He can knock down threes. And he just gives you a versatile athlete that's scorer. And I know at times we struggled scoring last year. I thought we've added two guys that can score.
Been talking about that foundation you've got, something you didn't have last year since the spring. Where are you seeing that kind of the fruits of that benefit right now in these early weeks?
It's almost everywhere where I'm seeing the benefit of having guys that have been back. I mean, they can demonstrate stuff. If I say something, I see them on the side explaining it to them. We always talk about coaching up on the sidelines if you're not in the rep. They can lead by example. They know they're not as unsure of what they're doing. They kind of know what they're doing more. They know what I don't allow. They know the effort, the mentality, the togetherness, the attitude, the positivity, the energy, all those intangible things of how practice goes, they know it. And I just think I see our togetherness better early on because of their knowledge of the program. I think that defensively, watching Jalen Hill, I'll be touting it all year, and I won't need to tout it. Jalen's actions will tout it. But elite defensively. Jalen has taken another step defensively. His body, he's been really working with his nutrition. And he's by far, you'll look at him and say, he looks as good as he's ever seen him in his career. The physical condition, lean muscle, and his pride level on defense is off the charts. Jalen Hill has been an elite defensive player all summer and fall, and you can just see his confidence of, knowing what we're doing defensively, And I think there's a lot that goes into it, and when you learn a new system, and Jalen feels really comfortable.
Hey, Porter, to add on to what you were just talking about with Jalen, I know there were times last year you were looking for him to be really aggressive offensively. You talked about his defense. What has the offense been like for him during the offseason? Is there anything he's been focusing on? What's that look like for him?
He's really improved his shot. He's moved it up. I think sometimes he had it in front of his face. We've done some tweaks and adjustments all summer, and I think his shot looks a lot better. He's more confident off the dribble. He's more confident off the dribble, and he's quicker point A to point B off the dribble. So I think he's been working on a lot of those areas. I love posting him up. I posted him up a lot last year. He loves it, and we're going to continue to do that. But I think he's becoming more of an inside-outside threat this year, being able to knock down a shot. So I think that's a big difference of him. I think he's getting, we talked about he'll get a fast break point, he'll get an offensive rebound, he'll get a post up, he'll get to the foul line. That's 8 points. I think he's learning how to become a scorer, rather than a glue guy. And I think that's a big step for him too, because he's just been really confident in these early going.
Porter, quickly, injury updates with Benny, Yaya.
Both of them are back full go. They're both full contact. Benny started Monday, and Yaya started about 2 weeks ago. So Benny's in 2 practices in, and then Yaya is about 2 weeks in.
And then how much further along is this freshman class, in particular Los and Oteg?
It's hard to say, compare them to anybody, but I think it's hard. It's always hard for freshmen. They just don't know. But I will say that Los and Ortega come in physically. I don't know if it's because they went to prep school, the competition they played in and day out. They're both physically, 6'4", the size-wise. They're both athletic. But I think they've handled it really well, all that we've thrown it at them. They've both been sponges. I think sometimes you see as freshmen, sometimes they get overwhelmed early. I don't feel like overwhelmed mentally. And I haven't seen them overwhelmed mentally. We had full practices this summer, so maybe they got used to it. But I love coaching them. But they're freshmen. They're freshmen. But when you watch them, you don't sit there and go, they're so far. They're freshmen. I know they're freshmen, but I think they've. I don't know. I like where they're at. I love their coachability.
Coach, you're obviously walking into year 2, you've seen a lot of changes, and with the transfer portal and the NIL, what things have you kind of had to change going into year 2 with all of these things and all of these transfers?
What have I had to change? Well, there's really nothing change. I'm changing anything X and O wise with the NIL. There's the things that the changes the transfer portal. I mean, last year we had the transfers, so I don't know if it's changes. You just got to adjust. It's the way it is. It's the way it is. I mean, last year we had to deal with transfer. I had to deal with putting together a whole team, and you got to adjust. I think moving on, it'll probably be the same every year. It's not changing. It's adjusting to. You'll have a lot of new guys. Just this year, last year everybody's new, but this year, we had 5 guys back, and we have 8 or so new. So I think that's going to be the biggest adjustment year in and year out. Is I think in the old days you might have to have 3 new guys, but you might have 9 or 10 back. Nowadays it seems like not us, it was around the country. You're seeing whole changeovers. 8, 9, 10 new guys in programs, and I think that's an adjustment with the transfer portal. Is how many newcomers you have.
Porter, it looks like, we haven't seen your guys yet, but it looks like on paper and things, you brought in some really talented guys. What's the overall talent level? Do you like your overall talent level of your squad with the new guys that are in, with the holdovers that you've talked about?
I do, James. You really start to answer that when you see them go up against other teams at our level. When we start really getting to the Big 12 race, I didn't really know, where our talent level stood this time of year last year until you put it up against. You can see it on paper. I can, but like on paper, like that's probably what you guys. That's all you see right now is on paper. I can tell you this: our 5 guys are better than they were last September. CJ Nolan is really improved. Bijan Cortez has really improved. Jacob Groves has really improved. All those 5 guys are much better, and that's what you're striving for. You're having this mentality of getting better, getting stronger. Tanner Groves played at 228 last year. He's 242 this morning. Jacob Groves grew. I'm not so sure Jacob's not taller than Tanner. He's every bit of 6'9". Jacob looks bigger and stronger. Jalen looks, so the talent level, I can just say this. I know we've improved. I look at the freshmen, Ortega's and Joe Bamisar, or Joe's not a freshman, but much more athletic. We've added athleticism with those two guys. Grant can really score and pass. So I think we've added some really good pieces to fit our needs, and now we just got to get them all, defending. That's on me.
Coach, is there anything new that you try to do this offseason from a coaching perspective? Have you ever tried a new style or technique? Like, have you tried anything different this offseason?
Yeah, we always do. We've added different offensive wrinkles. We've been working on this summer, for sure. We're always tweaking our defense, things we have in our bag to add into the defense. Every year I do that. I have certain things and certain ways we teach things that we're really set on how we do things. But we're always looking to add, adjust. I think offensively is what is the most. We're constantly changing, adding different actions in our playbook, different things. I think situationally with a guy like Grant, there's some different things you can do with Grant. Because he's so good in ball screens. But we're constantly looking to do that. But I will say this: the one thing I do like about this, I think we have 3 high level passers in Bijan, Milos, and Grant. We have 3 guys that I think are high level passers. And that's really good because I just think our passing that was something we've really addressed. We have to take care of the ball better. We have to limit our turnovers. We sat here in front of all you guys last year on close games, and we turned the ball over so many times. We got to get that number down. We've got to value the ball, take care of the ball, be stronger with the ball. And I know we play elite. This league is elite defensively, so we're playing teams that turn you over. But we've got to take care of the ball better this year, and that's something we focused in on the offseason.
What specifically about the offensive defense have you tweaked or added to?
Are you in one of the Big 12 schools asking me that question? I'm not getting into the X's and O's here, but specifically, not specifically, but we've just added to different things we do schematically, offensive actions that we've done and that we've just added.
Porter, is there anything with Tanner, whether it was when you were overseas or in these few practices you've had that looks different this year? Anything he's added to his game?
He's eliminated the headband. His beard's shorter, his hair's shorter. But I think what he's doing is by adding some strength, teams switched on him a lot. And I think he's rolling faster and getting deeper. I think he's more mobile and stronger to roll faster, to take advantage if they switch, to make them switch a guard on it. We're working on that. We've been trying to really work on his passing. I thought Ethan Shaguar played a nice role for us passing last year. And I think, we're working on Tanner with some of those passes of actions that we did with Ethan. Really confident with his shot, really confident with his effort. He's how hard that kid wants to win and play and scrap. Working on mentally too. Next play. Not getting so frustrated. He wants to win so bad. Sometimes he just gets so wound up. Next play. We really been working on that maturity and confidence because, like I told him, I said, all the questions you got to ask. What do you think it's going to be like jumping from Eastern Washington to the Oklahoma? You had that big game against Kansas. You can do it. Now, so there's a million questions about that. Now he knows he can do it. He's a double-figure scorer in the Big 12 last year. He averaged 5 or 6 rebounds. He can play. He's this level for sure. So let's just put that aside. Let's go and compete and win. And next play, you make a mistake, it isn't going to cast shadow whether you can play at this level or not. You can play at this level. Let's just play next play because he wants to win so bad. And I think he's been much better. I thought he was really good in Europe with that. Made a mistake or shot didn't go in. Next play.
I might sound like an idiot now that you just said this, but is it almost smoother for guys in the backcourt to adjust and come in as transfers like Joe and Grant, as opposed to Tanner getting used to physicality inside in the Big 12?
I never looked at it like that, if which one's easier. I think, Tanner coming in at 228, every game, he didn't see what he saw last year, game in and game out. The physicality of the Big 12 was like no other. I mean, you're talking about almost all the defenses are in the top, seems like right in the top 30. So I just thought it was just an extreme physicality. I think there's a handful of teams that switch 1 through 5. That's something you're not used to. The adjustment for Grant is he's seen a lot of different ball screen coverages. No matter the Mountain West is a great league. So no matter what, he's seen an ice, he's seen a trap, he's seen a hard hedge, he's seen a low lateral, he's seen a switch. So he's seen a lot. So I think sometimes for a big, if there's something that you haven't seen or it's a different physicality, sometimes that is different. Now that I think about it.
Josh, I just want to ask about Luke. Just what kind of addition he is. Obviously, great size and was really good in high school. Just how much of an impact can he maybe have right away for you?
I really like our depth at the bigs. So obviously we talked a lot about Tanner, and then there's Luke Norweather, the freshman. Luke's every bit of 6'10 and a half, between almost 6'11. But the one thing when you look at a young freshman sometimes is how big they are physically. Are they going to get pushed around? But Luke's over 230. So he's already physical. You don't look at him and he's not so skinny. Sometimes those guys are 205. What he can really do is he can shoot and stretch you out. He's very smart. I got to have that, what goes through his mind, out his mouth, and to be more vocal. And that's a big thing for us with him. I think that, he shows flashes. He's a freshman. To go through his day in, day out, it's going to take some time for him, every single day. Sam Godwin, here from Oklahoma, transfer from Wofford, has been really impressive. Why? Because he's been at the college level. He's played a couple years, and physically, mentally, knowing what to do, the motor. He's given us some really good. I mean, he's been really impressive. Sam, I really like where he's at and what he's adding. And then Yaya just came back. I love his physicality, but it's going to take him some time. He missed all summer, all spring, and he literally is in the first 2 weeks.
Porter, you've talked about him a little bit, but going back to Joe, it seemed like he, especially during the foreign tour, he played really well offensively. Just what's the process been like of kind of incorporating him into the offense, and how seamless has that process been?
Well, incorporating Joe, Joe can really score. He can score. He can get out in transition. We have this thing, DCO, defense creates offense, and we have DCO everywhere. And he can go from defense and then run in transition. He can really score in transition. We got we have our offense is predicated on spacing and movement. But we've added a lot of guys that can score. So him just being in that mix, knowing that he doesn't have to take every shot, he's not in that role, or that we got a lot of guys, but he is he can score in a lot of different ways. He can really knock down a three. He can go get a shot. We only have a couple guys that can go get a shot. Grant's obviously he's really, really good, and we had problems with that last year sometimes in the last 5-6 seconds of shot clock of someone just going to get a shot. Joe can do that. He's a really good cutter. He's a really, really good cutter. We have with our spacing on our offense, we cut a lot. We have a lot of different actions that we're cutting. He's a very good cutter. He's a big target. He hunts that cutting. But I just think he can give you. He's got a scorer's mentality, and he can come in and give you a couple quick baskets and do that. My thing is I want him to be a two-way player. I've talked to him about that. He's got a really long wingspan, and we talked about getting that wingspan into the game defensively, deflections, high hands, being a disruptor defensively. And I think that's where we've challenged him the most. He's always been a scorer, and we've really hit on him. Be a two-way player to do it on both ends.
We go over to James Hill again.
Porter, it was interesting when you were talking about working on guys' shots and breaking them down and things like that. Do you feel like you're going to be a pretty good shooting team this year?
Yeah, I do. I think we're shooting the ball a lot better. I don't know if we have one as like Mo was just elite shooter. but I think we got a lot of guys. So like we always, like in a scouting report, we get, you know, the elite shooters are Corvers, the other guys are Wades, and there's Rondos. And I don't think we'll have a Rondo on the floor this year. You know, I don't. Everybody, guys are. I wish they had as competitors. I love them. Trust me, I'd take them, but shooting wise, I think Jalen's really improved his shot. You know, Grant really can shoot at the one. You know, the guys we've added can really shoot. Guys have gotten better. CJ Nolan's shot looks great. Jalen. So I think I'm confident. I think we're going to play 5 guys that I have no problem shooting a 3, and I love that. Not a lot of programs can say that, but I really like where we are shooting the ball. I got confidence in them stepping in, and even when Luke comes in, and you know, there's 5 guys that are open that can shoot it.
Questions. We'll go Bob first, then Jason.
Porter, the comfort level, the CJ, Bijan, how have you seen it mentally, the growth that they've made going from freshman to sophomore?
You know, freshman's just so hard for everybody, for all of them across the country. It's just the expectations, always been the best at that thing, always been playing the whole game to not playing. That's just a hard mental adjustment, and our guys were no different. They had their ups and downs mentally as well as physically last year, and then you grow out of it. You start to realize it, and I think those two, Bijan and CJ, have grown so much, and they're coming in with more of a. You know, the unknown is hard for anybody in any not knowing the unknown. It's. But once you start to know what to expect, know the standards, know how we do things offensively, that is, information is power. That knowledge that they got their first year, they've come in more confident. And I think both physically came in much better, as well as mentally. So it's been a big, and they got to take that step, you know, and I think they have, and to this point.
Porter, I kind of want to talk about those 3 freshmen that you're bringing in this season. Obviously, in year 2, you finally get to bring in your own freshman recruits. How did you kind of sell the program to each 3 of those guys? Obviously, they're 3 versatile guys that you can build your program. What was the sell to each of them?
You know, for all of them, we're at the University of Oklahoma. You know, I was selling Oklahoma. I mean, I love this place, the energy of this place, the level, what we can have to offer. I mean, I was selling University of Oklahoma. I was selling, you know, we were selling the way we play and winning. You know, we want to win. You know, we just sell relationships. You know, the kind of family atmosphere that we're having. How much, you know, we're going to pour into them as a student athlete. You know, the need. I mean, there was a lot to the sell of each one of these guys. Relationship-wise, you know, the previous year was all through Zoom. You know, be able to sit down with them in their homes, sit down with them in their schools, and sit down with them and build a face rapport. But make no question, we're selling the University of Oklahoma at the highest level of basketball, in the #1 basketball league, and that's the opportunity. You know, there's been multiple national championships at the University of Oklahoma. Those are great things to sell, and we've been selling the heck out of that, and our vision as a program.
Kind of talked about the Europe trip a bit. I'm curious about your past Italy trip. You mentioned it you took an 89 with some of the Creighton guys. You know, did you kind of pull a lot of that from the 89 Creighton trip you took to Italy and kind of poured it into this Europe trip by chance?
The 89 trip, that was when I played at Creighton. I took 2 at, I'll say this about foreign trips. So I took 2 at Loyola, Italy and Spain, and I took an Italy trip at Creighton, and then this was our 4th one I've done with a team like this. And what you do is it's more than X's and O's. It's a togetherness, it's a bonding, it's going over culturally and having that experience, the experience of those guys in a different country and education, and it'll be remembered for the rest of your lives. And I thought our group this summer got out of it the bonding. You know, the bonding and being in another country and going to walk through different things that we saw, and you can't. It's just an unbelievable experience that I love doing with the team.
Thank you, everyone.
I can do this one. Go ahead. I know you've been waiting.
Tell me, how much do you think CJ Nolan has improved over the offseason? Has he improved just in his offense, defense? Like, what specifically about him do you think he's improved in so much?
Both. I think CJ's been, CJ, you all of a sudden will get his momentum going and he can go downhill. You're like, God, all of a sudden you'll be like, whoa, did see CJ go? I think he's doing that more consistently. I think we're going to have, whoa, CJ, more often. I think you're going to see his burst of athleticism get into the game more often. He's going harder, more often. I'm really pleased with him on both ends. Defensively, he's been really competitive. Offensively, he's been great off the dribble. His shot looks good. He's actually passing the ball really well. And I just think he's, like all freshmen, they're sometimes you're going really hard, sometimes you're on and off that gas pedal. What I've seen out of CJ Nolan is I've seen his foot on the gas pedal way more consistently, and that's fun to see.
What have you seen from the transfers that you got?
I know I talked a lot about both of them already, but I've seen a lot. Both of them have been huge impact guys. I know we talked about Grant a ton, so I hope we got some of the stuff on that. And then Joe, same thing. All right, guys, thanks.
Sooner Scoop HD.